It's great having you with me today on Paint a Beautiful Picture. Today we are going to talk about intention, the intention to respond. When my son was in 11th grade, I received a phone call from his English teacher, Deb Alvarez. She said, "Miss Doobie, Marcus is failing my class. Can you tell me what you intend to do about it?" Near the end of the video, I'm going to tell you exactly what I said to her. Anyways, I definitely had an immediate response, and you might be surprised at what it was. All of us need to have a firm intention that we're going to respond to our child or our children. I've got to tell you that some people obviously don't have any such intention. I saw a young woman the other day in a restaurant. Of course, she's on her phone. Her child asked her a question. Just a minute. She's on her phone. Her child asked her a question. Hold on, I said. She's on her phone. I was dying of curiosity, so I got up as though I were going to go to the bathroom, and she was on Facebook. I'm sorry, I don't think there's anything life or death happening on Facebook. It was her intention to do what she wanted to do, to pay attention to what she wanted to pay attention to, and to completely ignore her child. If I would have asked her, "Is it your intention to ignore your child?" or "How long do you intend to ignore your child?" she probably would have been affronted. So, of course, I didn't ask the question. But I do want to ask you the question: are you, in fact, intending to respond to your child? Because the first response that is appropriate on the part of a parent is that you will listen. If you are not listening to your child, and I do mean listening, actively listening, which involves eye contact and actually hearing what they're saying and, oh my gracious, hearing the underlying message. If you are not listening to your child, you don't intend to listen to them. Okay? So you might want to change your intention. You might intend to put down your phone. You might intend to call off all electronics in everyone's life a couple of hours a day, most notably from about the time they get home from school when they have homework until bedtime, possibly. If you intend to actively listen, you have to stop all of the other distractions. Okay. Do you intend to look at your child? Are you seeing them? Are you seeing what they're doing to get your attention? Are you seeing what they are wearing? Are you seeing what they are doing? Do you intend to pay attention to your child's life? Because in a movie I absolutely love with Jennifer Lopez and Richard Gere and Susan Sarandon, Shall We Dance?, the wife makes a really interesting statement. One of the important things about being married is that you have a witness to your life, someone who is looking at or paying attention to what you are doing. Are you paying attention to your child? Then helping them. There are so many things kids can't do. Oh my gracious, those small humans, they want to do it all, but honey, they can't. They can't prepare their own meals. They usually can't bathe themselves, not adequately and, as they ought to, at least until they're 8, 9, 10 years old. They certainly cannot care for their own clothing. They cannot drive themselves places they need to go. They cannot get medical attention on their own. There are so many things kids need help with. Do you fully intend to help your child? So there are a lot of things that a child is going to need help with. You might need to help your child with his or her homework, probably all the way through junior high school in some ways, because if the teacher isn't really great at explaining something and you know your child well, you might need to help him or her understand a concept. You better get ready for the reality. I mean, you better intend to respond by helping your child for years to come. I actually knew a woman. She was in her mid-70s. Her very first born child had Down syndrome. It wasn't like it was when she was old. She was only about 19. So this young woman was in her 50s. Do you know, every single day, Linda, that was the young woman with Downs, still needed help. And her mom faithfully helped her. She helped her get dressed. She helped her get undressed at night. She helped her bathe. Can you imagine that? Over 50 years of daily helping your child. That mom had an intention of responding to her child and continued to do it all through their lives. What was really interesting was that most Down syndrome people don't live very old. Linda lived well into her 60s, and her mom lived well into her 90s. And she said more than one time that part of the reason she knew that she stayed alive and she had been so healthy and active was because Linda needed her and Linda needed her help. So I hope that you intend to respond to your child by helping them with whatever they might need help with. Then you need to respond by meeting the need. Let me tell you, kids are needy. Frankly, human beings are needy, so it isn't very surprising that small humans are needy. You need to meet their needs to the best of your ability, and if you are unable to meet their needs, you need to get someone who can help you with that. Whether that person is a physician, or a counselor, or a tutor in a subject you can't explain very well that your child is struggling with. You need to meet the needs of your child's life. You need to recognize that you have needs, and you need to have someone who is contributing to you and meeting your needs and feeding you and feeding your spirit so that you are able to meet your child's needs. It's really hard to meet another person's needs when you are empty yourself. I want to encourage you about that. We so often talk about self-care and self-responsibility. You do need to know that there needs to be someone pouring life into you so that you are really then able to meet the needs of your child. But you need to meet your child's physical needs. He or she needs to have adequate food. He or she needs to have clothing and shoes and hopefully a roof over their head. And, not everybody in the world has everything. That's a fact. There was a point in my life when I didn't have a crib. And I had a baby, I told you he was a preemie, that was way too small anyway. There was no way he was going to go into a crib. So you know what he did? He slept in a in a clothes basket, because that's what I had. So he slept in that clothes basket with a bunch of covers on a pillow. But I still met the need of his life. He needed to be kept warm. He needed to be kept safe. And that was the best I could do. So you need to meet that need the best that you possibly can. You also need to meet your child's emotional needs. That means you need to love that child. That means you need to discipline that child. That means you need to show great affection to that child. That means there are a lot of things you need to teach that child about life. You need to meet your child's emotional needs. And frankly, you need to meet your child's needs for security. You are the person in the world who is capable of giving that to them more than any other person, mom or dad. And so your level of consistency and dependability and your level of care over them and your level of attention that you pay them, those are the things that give your child emotional security. You need to meet that need. You need to meet the need of encouragement. Your child needs to be encouraged. No matter where they go, whether they go outside to play with their friends, whether they go to preschool, whether they go to elementary school, and heaven only knows in middle school, that child needs to be encouraged. My friend said I was really ugly. My friend said I wore the stupidest clothes. Oh, great Scott, the things kids go through. And honestly, let me tell you something. I had a teacher at the elementary school where my children attended that I'd heard a lot of things about, but I had a hard time believing them. One day, in the middle of the day, it was when I was on a break from nursing school, I had to go take something to my child. All the way down the hall, I'm hearing this human screaming and being insulting. It was unbelievable. I'm like, who in the world is this? And I go to my child's classroom, and it was my child's teacher. And oh dear, how inconvenient for her. She was actually talking to my child. Yes, I dealt with that. But just so you know, your child needs to be encouraged, okay? They need to be encouraged to live through the hard things. And that was a really hard year. And I could not get him moved out of that classroom. It was rough, okay? Uh, they need to be encouraged when they feel down about themselves. Certainly when other people have insulted them or when they aren't doing very well at something and they're really trying their best, but they're just not really getting it. I couldn't tell time till fifth grade. I'm severely dyslexic. Though I learned how to read numbers, oh, help me a lot. They did not make sense to me. And I heard all about how stupid I was, which wasn't even close to real, but I couldn't tell time. It was the one thing I couldn't do. I didn't need to be beaten up about that and told how stupid I was and I was pathetic. And I needed to be encouraged that sooner or later, sometime, I was going to understand. So it was okay. I could always ask somebody the time. We need to encourage our children. You need to respond by letting go. So let's go back to Miss Alvarez, because this is 11th grade. My child's nearly 17 years old. What do you intend to do about the fact that he's failing English class? My response was, nothing. That's what I'm going to do. And I said to her, have you talked to Marcus? Not really. I'm like, why are you calling me on the phone? She didn't even know how to respond to me. Do you know what? I wasn't going to suffer from him failing English class. I wasn't going to have to go to summer school and miss all the fun. I wasn't going to have the headache and the embarrassment of maybe having to do 11th grade over and graduating late. None of that was going to affect me. What are you calling me for? And I told her that. It was pretty cool when I went to parent-teacher conferences in February. Sat down with her. I said, hey, Miss Alvarez, I'm Miss Newby. She's like, wow, I look forward to meeting you. I was like, really? Why is that? And she basically told me that she had never met a parent who made a child, a young adult actually, be responsible for their own actions. Do you know, I let my kids be responsible for their own actions from about the time they were 13 or 14 years old because I had trained them extremely well. They weren't babies, they were young people. They were fully capable of making good decisions, and if they made poor decisions, they were going to have to deal with that. That was part of a healthy letting go. Don't think for a minute I didn't have a conversation with my son. Don't be confused about that. But I couldn't force that kid to pass English, and I knew it. You have to let go a little bit at a time. So remember I told you that when my kids were little boys, I would put 3 outfits out and they got to choose? I let go of control of you're wearing this today no matter what. Sometimes they wore a little bit of wacky stuff places. I let them do it. Let it go. Who cares? It's clothes, okay? People will get over it. Let go a little bit at a time. You help them like crazy when they're little because they can't do it. You help them quite a bit when they're in elementary school. There's still a lot they can do. You help them a moderate amount in middle school. By high school, oh my lands. They can't drive. You need to take them. But let them make decisions about where they're going. Let them make decisions about the kinds of classes they're going to take. You have to let go. That most assuredly shows your intention as a parent to respond to their needs because as an adult, they need to live a responsible life. You've got to let go. And then one that I think is really critical is you need to give and then expect to get respect. I intend, and I always did, to show respect to little kids because they're just a smaller human. They don't know what I know. They can't do what I do. But they are a unique individual created by God with great potential and real beauty and actually incredible, amazing attributes. And I need to respect that. So in intending to respond, you need to respond to your child with respect. And you need to expect to get respect back. So my question for you is, what in the world do you intend to do in response to your child? That's my question. I can't make you respond a particular way any more than I could make my kid pass English. But I can appeal to you to respond to your child out of a heart of great love by listening, by looking at him or her, by helping him or her, by meeting their needs, by encouraging him or her, by letting go appropriately, and by giving and expecting to get respect. It's been great having you with me today. I'll see you again soon. You may find additional information on our paintabeautifulpicture.com website. Additionally, you may watch me on Rumble, and you may also listen to a podcast on Buzzsprout or Spreaker, all under the name Paint a Beautiful Picture. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. You may subscribe, and if you are interested in receiving notifications, please hit the notifications button.